Shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul. Watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated. Misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded. Watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We lost you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all.
You have no, well, I gotta say this. We had a little technical error right off the bat here. My microphone did not fire. So I'm just going to tell everybody who you are. They've already heard the intro. And I've got this program that I use. And, this is a good way to actually cut the tension, because I'm going to get into the story about Brian here momentarily. I got this program here that it doesn't matter if you hit the button or not. Sometimes it gets a little sticky. And that's exactly what happened. So I read this beautiful intro to you, and we got dead air. My God. And I have to tell my listeners, this is a worst case scenario start for this guest. Worst case scenario. Because when I went to broadcasting school, the dean of broadcasting is our guest tonight, Brian Antonson. I'm failing already, my friend. I am failing already. I am totally failing already, Brian. How are you?
I'm marking everything you say.
I know I'm going to get graded, and I got to admit, I'm a little flush and red faced right now. How are you, my friend? It's been a long time. I remember shaking your hand on the graduation stage in 1998, going back,
Wow.
22 years already.
Yeah. Well, I am very well, thank you very much. And you have had a remarkable career here in town, and with this wonderful spaced out radio thing, you've made a real mark. So you've marked yourself very high, in my opinion. How's that?
Well, thank you. For somebody who I really respect in yourself, Brian. I mean, you had a long time broadcasting career in Canada, namely British Columbia, and you also taught thousands of students over the years on the proper etiquette and way to broadcast. And you've always been a very strong professional. You have a great beard as well, and we like a good beard around this show. So I never knew up until we got in touch with each other about 6 weeks ago here that you actually had and have currently a huge interest in things like the paranormal, supernatural, never mind Slumach's gold.
You bet. I've had that interest since I was a kid, and I am widely read. I don't know. I'm a skeptic at heart. So I don't know that I've been convinced of anything, but I certainly am interested, and I want to learn as much as I can about anything. I'm a kid of the 60s who grew into the information age, and boy, I love my iPhone, I love my computer, I love all the things that I've been able to learn. I'm an information groupie, and yes, paranormal things and whatnot are an interest of mine. One of many.
Have you had any experiences? Because I know I've spent, before I moved up here north in British Columbia, I spent 15 years in Mission, British Columbia, where you live as well for a long time. And I had a hell of a lot of interesting activity around there. UFOs, ghosts, you name it.
Yeah, there's a lot of UFO activity. There's a website, ufobc.com or .ca, I think it is. And UFOBC tracks these things, and they update every few months, and not as frequently as I would like, but they update things, and there are frequently Fraser Valley sightings and mission sightings and so on. So, I'm always checking on that to see what people are seeing. Something popped up on one of the local blogs here a couple of weeks ago. What's that bright light in the sky? But it was, by the time I got to it, it was too late. But people they said there was something hovering up there. Well, maybe it was Venus. Who knows?
Well, Venus, we do get a pretty good view of at this time of year. But I know that, my time in Mission, and I live just up the mountain from where you were. I was in what they call the College Heights area.
Yep.
And I literally had some friends come over to my house. We were having a beer on the patio. It was a nice spring night. And lo and behold, about 25 minutes after we were standing on the patio, we had a black triangle over top of our house. And
Whoa.
three of us watched this fly through the night sky. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. And it was like a door opened in the sky, and this thing flew in and disappeared ever sparingly from front to back.
And how long ago was that?
We're looking at, that would have been 2013, 2014.
Okay, so a while ago. I will keep my eye peeled for that one. I've seen some things in the sky. One night around Christmas time, I saw some bright lights spiraling up, two of them spiraling up beside each other, and I realized right away they were Chinese lanterns. Because there's some things that you can discount, right? And when you see something around Christmas time or some festival, and it's like that, and then they both blew out. It's likely a Chinese lantern. But there are other things that you can't explain. You asked if I'd seen anything that was mysterious. I was driving home from BCIT once along the Lougheed Highway in Pitt Meadows, and I saw what looked like the plume of the space shuttle, the big plume that follows as it takes off, only was going from the south to the north. I saw no craft, but I saw this plume move across the sky in about 15 seconds. It was rush hour. I was sure that other people would have seen it and so on. And I always considered that to be some mysterious thing that I'd seen. Along the way, I heard about roll clouds, and I looked them up, ROLL, roll clouds. I looked them up on the internet, and don't you know, there's all sorts of these things that happen given the correct atmospheric conditions, and they literally develop over the course of 15 or 20 seconds. And when you look at the images on a Google search, that's exactly what I saw. So there's an unexplained aerial phenomenon, right, a UAP, which is now explained. And so I love, as a skeptic, I love to get the explanation. But there are still lights in the sky that you can't explain. What do we know that flies that's triangular? Nothing. Beyond something like a U.S. bomber or something like that.
Exactly.
So,
this past summer, a couple buddies and I, we went out on Mount Timothy, which is northeast of us. And it's about 25, 30 minutes to get there. And we rolled up the mountain probably about 9 o'clock. We decided we're going to sit here all night just to see if we could hear any wood knocking or any weird, strange sounds. We're right in the middle of grizzly bear territory, so thank goodness no grizzly bears came around. Yeah, well, three of us, and you have to go in armed. We didn't see any Sasquatch that night, but we actually did get to see, first time in my life, we actually got to see one of the SpaceX rockets actually flying on by. You could see the tail of it combined with, the front nose of it piercing through the atmosphere and everything, and got that white curvature light coming off of it, and then the back tail. It was fantastic. Never got to see that before, but that was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. I've seen the space shuttle, or the space station, the ISS, go over a number of times here because it frequently makes a visit. But boy, what you've seen, that must have been pretty fantastic.
It was really, really cool. Really cool. Brian, as someone who has spent a lot of time in the media and telling stories, I'm going to say 40, 50 years worth, you had a fantastic career with everything. I'm wondering if when you're telling stories and you're looking for those pots of gold, pun intended, what makes a good story credible, viable, much like Slumach's gold?
Evidence. I continually challenge people on this whenever we're having any kind of a discussion on anything. Maybe it's the paranormal, maybe it's U.S. politics or Canadian politics or whatever. I go back to that tried and true journalism thing that you know very, very well, and that's show me the proof, show me the evidence. And so I always ask for that. I'm always very interested in the anecdotal stories that people tell. But I also ask for evidence about it. It's all conjecture up until the time that you actually produce some hair that is not any known animal that we have the DNA of at this point in time. And then you can say maybe it is a Sasquatch, right? So that's what I always look for, the proof, the evidence that will stick.
All right, well, let's start to get into Slumach's gold here, because this is a story of murder, death, legends, intrigue, and possibly one of the best fairy tales in the province of British
Yes.
Columbia.
You bet.
And I think, for considering about 85% of our audience is American listeners, they may not know how important British Columbia was to the gold rush in the 1850s to early 1900s.
Yep. We had you had the California gold rush. We had our own gold rush in 1858, which really opened the province. It brought thousands and thousands of people here. We had the Klondike gold rush in the late 1800s, 1898 or thereabouts. But yeah, the gold, the lure of gold, and the actual delivery. Barkerville and Granite City and places like that, legendary places in British Columbia, were opened up because of gold.
So with that, obviously British Columbia, this is before the creation of the Northwest Mounted Police, which eventually turned into the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. This was a lawless area that was still quite new to the British Commonwealth at that time. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand that, there were people running around all over here, and there was no law enforcement. There was no sheriff in every little town like we saw in the Western movies in the United States. This was actual lawlessness around here.
Yep. There's an argument that says there was no need for law enforcement because Canadians had a different approach. They weren't carrying guns. They weren't doing whatever. But I'm not sure that I agree with that. And the RCMP came out of the mid to late 1800s, and they were the first to bring law to this land. And so I agree with the basic premise. There wasn't a lot of law. The question is, was there need for law enforcement at the time?
Did you think there was, considering, you look at the Gold Rush Trail and the history of it, that there was a lot of murder along there? People were getting murdered for their gold going up. They were getting murdered for their prospecting land, murdered for any type of potential riches that they may have had.
Yep. And so maybe the perpetrators got away with those things. And there's many stories of those. And, look at now this is into the 1900s, but look at the Billy Miner story. Law people had to chase him all over the place before they finally found him. I think it was in Kamloops when they found him, and living under an assumed name and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I guess the law eventually caught up with you. It just took longer to get there than these days.
Tell us who Slumach was.
Slumach was a Catesy man, and he lived near a place called Addington Point on the west side of Pitt River. So for those listeners who know where the Pitt River Bridge is today, it would be a few miles north of that area. He was a Catesy fellow. According to reports, he was about 80 years old. And he was hunting and fishing, and, he would supply goods for various people, meat and things like that. And one day he came across a fella who he'd had arguments and disputes with over the years, a guy named Louis Boulier, who went by the name of Louis B. And according to the facts of the story, as recorded in court, Slumach came out of the bush, and Louis B. said, who was in a canoe, said, "What are you shooting today, Slumach?" And Slumach said, "You." And the witnesses say that B raised his tomahawk to throw it at Slumach, and Slumach shot him. He fell off into the river, into the slough, and Slumach took off and was gone for about 2 months, and then was eventually brought out of the bush. He surrendered to the local police. He was brought out of the bush in December or late November, I guess it was, of 1890. He was tried in December of 1890 and convicted to hang, and he was hanged on January the 16th of 1891. And that's the truth, but I can go into the legend when you say go.
Well, we got time to go for the legend right now. Now, was he one of the people who was hanged up in the Barkerville area, or was he hanged in the courthouses in New Westminster, British Columbia, which was the capital back then?
Yeah, he was hanged in the BC Provincial Jail, spelt at the time Gaol. It was at the corner of what today is Royal Avenue and 12th Street in New Westminster. There's a school on that site today, but back in the 1890s, it was the BC Provincial Jail before the BC Pen moved down into the Sapperton area, and that's where he was hanged.
How was the courts handled back then? Because, I mean, we look at the courts today. Canada does not have capital punishment. States across the United States are starting to look on whether or not capital punishment is reliant and relevant in today's society. Yet back then, it was done everywhere. How did one get a death sentence back then?
Well, it was very much white man's justice. Those who have analyzed it these days say that if Louis B. was threatening Slumach with about to throw his tomahawk, and Slumach shot him, at the most in 2020, Slumach would get a manslaughter charge and be in jail, and he took a man's life, so he would be in jail and he would probably be out in a few years. But 1890 was a different time. And Slumach was, in those days, just another Catesy guy. We got to teach these people lessons and so on. So the judge in the case, whose name was Montague Tyrwhitt Drake, Justice Drake, held a trial. It was 3 hours long. Witnesses were called, but some witnesses were not called or did not show up. The jury went out and came back 15 minutes later and said guilty as charged, and Justice Drake said you will hang by the neck until dead on January the 16th, and that was just a few weeks later, and he was.
Boy, they didn't waste any time back then, did they?
No appeals, none of the modern rudimentaries of justice in Canadian law. You're found guilty, you're going to hang in a few weeks.
Well, it saved the taxpayers, at least, right? At least at the time.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that. And that was just for anybody in that scenario. How much of a prize was gold back then? Because, with the gold rush, both in British Columbia, the Klondike, Alaska, and all the way down south to California, Nevada, I mean, there were people everywhere looking for gold. They were coming from China, India, Japan, any country that could get anybody to the west coast of North America. They were coming here for gold. So when it came to the gold aspect of everything, was it that prevalent back then?
Oh, you bet. The lure of gold was huge. There's a ghost town which really today amounts to an almost crumbled down shack called Granite City. So it's in the Tulameen-Colmont area north of Princeton. Granite City was at one time a city of about 5,000 people. It had, I don't know how many saloons and all the rest of the things that go with a thriving town based on taking gold out of Granite Creek. And you can go to Granite Creek, Granite City today, and just walk around the dirt and the boulders. And like I say, the last time I was there was just this one shack which was almost totally crumbled. But at one point in time, it was the largest city west of Chicago or north of San Francisco. And that's right here in British Columbia. And it was because of the gold. And then when the gold played out, and there was lots of gold to be taken out of Granite Creek. When the gold played out, everybody left and they went elsewhere.
The funny part about it is all of those areas, believe it or not, the majority of them, I should say, are still being mined today for gold.
Sure. Yep. Interesting thing about Granite City, this is a sidebar to the whole Slumach thing and so on. But back in the days, there was this white metallic material that they didn't quite know what it was, so they tossed it away, or they threw it to the kids to play with and so on. And there was one miner, legendary guy worth checking out, guy's named Johnny Chance. And Johnny thought this white metal might be at some time valuable, so he kept a bunch of it in a bucket. And then he was leaving town, so he buried it a certain number of feet from his doorstep toward the old oak tree. And when he came back to town, his house had burned down. The old oak tree had been cut down, so he had no idea where to find this bucket of this white metal. Well, that white metal turned out to be platinum, and there was lots of it up there. So when they finished with the gold, they went after the platinum in the creek and so on. Well, compare the price of platinum to the price of gold today, and people are looking for that bucket of Johnny Chance's platinum.
No kidding. And that's what makes it fun, too, because all around the province, along the trail that goes straight down and all across the province, there's all of these little hidden gold secrets, like we're going to learn about Slumach's gold coming up here in the next half hour as we're about a minute away from break. You know, how many tales are out there that we don't even know of? I mean, there's got to be millions of dollars, Brian, of gold just hidden, just a mere feet from the surface.
Billions of dollars, not millions, billions. We had one estimate when we were doing our first book in 1972. Somebody said from what they had learned about the mine, it was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's when the price of gold in 1972 was still around $34 an ounce. And today, last I checked, it was up to about $1,600 again. So now we're talking billions of dollars worth of value in the gold.
Freaky indeed. Brian Antonson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and he's got a great book out with his brother Rick and Mary Trainer. They wrote Slumach's Gold, In Search of a Legend. It can be found on Amazon right now, so make sure you go check that on out. You can even try it through our website, spacedoutradio.com. More of Slumach's Gold coming up on Spaced Out Radio next.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, waiting for the snow to fall once again. I've only got about 1.5 feet now. I think that's enough for the year, but more white stuff coming. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're listening in, you can check out our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we got a plethora of features for you that, once again, you can check out while you're tuning on in to tonight's show about Slumach's Gold, In Search of a Legend. Author Brian Antonson is with us tonight. Brian, thank you so much.
Glad to be here. Enjoying it.
Right before the break, we were talking a little bit about who Slumach was. He was a First Nations man who, got a little crusty at times. He was able to find a lot of gold. How does this legend start?
So sometime in the 1800s, the 1890s, I should say. So within a few years of him dying, people were talking about a lost gold mine that he had. Now, I read the judge's bench book from his trial from stem to stern. Over in Victoria, it's kept in the archives and so on, and I went through that many, many years ago. There is not one single mention in all of the testimony at all of any gold. But the rumors began circulating that Slumach had gold. He had gold nuggets the size of walnuts. The legend grew that he would come into Frontier, New Westminster. And I should be cautious with the word frontier because it wasn't really like a frontier western town that we think of. It was quite a developed city. Anyway, he would come in and he'd throw the gold nuggets around the saloons and things like that, and have a good time as people were jumping after them and whatnot. And then he would leave town. He would tell nobody where he got these nuggets. He'd leave town. He would always take a young native woman with him, and none of them ever came back. Now, I got to emphasize, I'm talking about the legend that grew. And so none of those ever came back, and every time he came back into town, Slumach said, "Oh, I don't know. She turned back. She didn't want to come with me." So none of them was ever found again until one of them, Molly Tynan, showed up in a fisherman's net in the Fraser River. Slumach's knife was in her back, and he was captured the next time he came to town, and he was hanged for her murder. Oh, no, wait a minute. 10 minutes ago, I was talking about Louis B. Louis B. is a matter of fact. And the gal, Molly Tynan, and the gold nuggets and so on, that's all fake news. But it doesn't matter. People believed this legend that was circulating. And in 1901, a fellow named Walter Jackson, sometimes referred to as John. Anyway, Jackson supposedly, and this is again the stuff of legend, showed up in New Westminster. He was heading home to San Francisco from the Alaskan goldfields. And he heard the legend of Slumach and the gold nuggets the size of walnuts and yada, yada, yada. So he took off into the area north of Pitt Lake, where he thought the legend was going to take him. And he came back to town several months later, a broken man, but his pack sack never left him as he waited for his boat to take him back to San Francisco. Never left him. And in it, apparently, he had $8,500 in raw gold. Now, according to the stories, the legends that circulate around Jackson, he took that gold, put it in the Bank of British North America in San Francisco. That bank is today the Bank of Montreal, BMO. Now, Jackson supposedly put that money into the Bank of British North America in San Francisco, and then in 1906, that bank was one of the many buildings that were destroyed, burned to a crisp, and so on in the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. So there are no records to corroborate any of this. So the Jackson legend may or may not be true. However, supposedly Jackson was dying of his infirmities that he picked up when he was up Pitt Lake. and he was a broken man, and so he knew that he was dying, so he sent a letter, the famous Jackson letter, again, a legend, and he sent it to the guys who had grub-staked him in Seattle, variously known by the name Shotwell or Harrington. And he described what he'd found. He was looking down into this valley. He was about done, and he was going to hike out. And he looked down into this valley, and he saw a stream that had no beginning or no end. So it was underground to start, and then it flowed out underground. And so he decided to go down there, and he found colors immediately. So that means in minor language, colors means he's found flakes and whatnot. And then he found nuggets that were the size of walnuts, which corroborated the legend of Slumach from the 1890s. So he found this stuff, packed out the gold, and now he's dying in 1904. So he sends this letter to these guys and says, here's the description of where it's at. Go up there, find it. You won't believe the millions and millions that are there. And he buried some of it near a tent-shaped rock, or underneath a tent-shaped rock. And he said, you can't miss it. There's a mark cut out in it. And that's what his letter said. Now, unfortunately, north of Pitt Lake, there are gazillions of tent-shaped rocks, and many people have found what they believe to be the right tent-shaped rock, and maybe there's a piece missing, or there's a score or something. But has anybody come back with Jackson's gold? Was Jackson any more than a legend? Nobody knows for sure. But I can tell you that one of the best researchers on this whole thing, Fred Brockus of Wannock, British Columbia here, just west of Mission, Fred found some evidence of a group that in 1897 was trying to get the Slumach Lost Gold Mine company going. They were looking for investors and so on to go searching for the mine. So Slumach died in 1891. The legends were circulating by the time Jackson showed up in 1901. And about a year ago, maybe two, Fred found this evidence that in 1897, so 6 years after after Slumach died, there was enough of a legend circulating. And that's as far back as anybody's gotten. And Fred's about the best researcher we've got in this whole thing. So nobody can get back further than those 6 years to date. Maybe there's more to come.
For people who may not know the topography of the area, and even for someone like I grew up in, half an hour, 45 minutes away from Pitt Lake here in British Columbia, we think we know the area. We think we know how big it is. I mean, the amount of population, it's a very big hiking area. It is for outdoor activities like ATVing and 4x4ing and fishing and hunting. There's a lot of activity that goes along there. And how come in the last 125, 130 years, we haven't been able to find this? Is it the topography? Are we on the right track?
A guy who we talked to back in the early 70s when we were preparing our first book told us, and he was quite familiar with the area, he said, this is the worst topographical area in the province. Now, those who have frequented the area, I've been up to the head of Pitt Lake and a little further, and I've hiked in a few of the areas in the south part, but those who have been up there say it's virtually up and down, straight up and down. And, the mountains rise literally straight out of the lake. It's a very deep lake. It's a tidal lake, but the mountains come straight down. There's not a lot of flat land either side of the lake. So you go north of the lake, and there's glaciers up there. There are wild creeks, Corbald Creek, Canyon Creek, the Terra Rosa Glacier, the Stave Glacier. These are all places where people have searched for the mine, but it's really rough country. So you can start off, when you're close to the Pitt River itself, the North Pitt, north of Pitt Lake. It's a nice area, and the river is great for salmon fishing. And Danny Garrick runs a wonderful lodge up there. and people come in and they fish in his area, and that's all very peaceful and tranquil and very, very nice territory. But move half a mile off into the bush and you're going straight up. So yeah, it's very, very rough, and it's quite accessible from Vancouver. Pitt Lake's a big lake, but you can hop on a boat and go right up to the top of the lake very easily. But yeah, the land is just crazy. It's very steep, and supposedly, if you go by the legend, not the fact Louis B story, but if you go by the legend, I neglected to mention that there is a curse on the mine, because as Slumach stood on the gallows, he uttered the words "Nika Memlus, mine Memlus," which in the Chinook jargon means "when I die, mine dies." Now, there were reporters standing there. According to every report that we're aware of, Slumach went to his death without saying a word. So I don't personally believe there's any curse on the mine, but one of the attractive things of the legend is that there is this curse, a gallows curse. And so when you look at this country, you look at this wild topography. People have dropped off the edge of a cliff as they're walking along, and they lose their footing and they go down and they're gone. And there have at times been thousands of people every year going looking for this mine, 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 people every year. And even now, when I hear that the Coquitlam search and rescue people are searching for lost hikers or whatever north of Pitt Lake, I think, oh yeah, somebody else up there looking for the mine. So it does happen. So it's your premise is accurate. Very rough country.
David Paulides from the Missing 411 series, he actually was searching the Pitt Lake area from December 26th to December 31st of just a month and a half ago. He must have been there.
Yeah, but just in the lake area. He couldn't have been up in the mountains because there's too much snow up there right now.
Yeah, well, he was taken on a private tour because that Pitt Lake area straight through to the Sunshine Coast is the number 2 area in North America for people going missing without a trace and without any clues or evidence, much like he writes in the Missing 411 Canada book. Number 1 is Yosemite National Park in the United States. Number 2 is the Vancouver Coastal Mountain Range.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people go out hiking, I was just talking to a fellow here the other night who spent a lot of time up there when he was a kid looking for the mine. And he said, I just went up there hiking all alone, and I'd be gone for several days. And when you go, the rules of the bush, when you go into the bush, you tell somebody you're going into the bush. You tell them when you're expected back. If you don't hear from me, send a search party, all those good things. But if you go up all by yourself and you neglect to tell somebody, it's very likely that you'll run into something nasty, a grizzly bear, a cougar, a cliff, any number of different things, falling into a deep pool and unable to get. It's glacier water up there, so it's very, very cold. So it's not the easiest place to survive. And you have to have your wits about you. A lot of people think, hey, I'm going off in the bush looking for Slumach's mine. And then they go up in sandals or some other, they're ill prepared. They don't have proper rain gear and all that sort of stuff. And they end up calling for help. There was a German film crew that's been here 2 or 3 times looking for the mine. And a couple of times they had to be hauled out by Coquitlam Search and Rescue because they ran into trouble, and these are professional film people and supposedly prepared for the outdoors and so on. So it's dangerous country.
And it's a natural rainforest. It is always damp. It is always soggy. Doesn't even matter if it's sunshine out. You get to the back areas of those trails, and it is cold, damp, and wet. And I don't believe a lot of people actually fully understand that, Washington State, Oregon, right through British Columbia is North America's rainforest.
And what is rainforest? We call it rainforest, but really it's jungle. right? It's West Coast jungle, but it's jungle just like you would find in Africa or in the Amazon or whatever. It's very much intractable. You're in there with a machete. You're hacking your way through bracken and all sorts of berries and so on with prickles all over them. And Devil's Club. You ever run into Devil's Club? That's not a nice thing.
I have
but
not.
It's a huge plant. It looks sort of like what do I call it? I'm
poison ivy.
71 years old, and I'm trying to remember the name of what do you get? Pie. They mix strawberry and rhubarb. That's it.
Rhubarb. Yes.
So rhubarb. Only it's absolutely huge. I mean, to have a plant that's 6-7 feet across is not unusual. And the stalks and the underside of the leaves, and the leaves are huge, it's all prickles. It's all sharp barbs. And it's called Devil's Club for a very good reason. I've run into it a couple of times. It ain't comfortable. So, something like that can injure you seriously. It is really intractable in many areas.
At least we don't have any poisonous snakes in that area.
No, a little bit further east we do with rattlesnakes in the Okanagan and so on. But while there is a legend of a hidden valley up that area that pops up from time to time, sort of like our own Shangri-La, where the weather is always lush and damp and beautiful, and lizards that are huge and all that sort of stuff, that's another one of the local legends. But I don't know. Nobody's ever come up with any proof of that one for sure.
Was Slumach a popular man?
No. No, he was apparently he was a recluse. He was somebody who fought with a lot of people. Louis B. was just one of them. And those who knew him said that he was not the most popular guy, and he'd always been a bit of a problem. We're not even sure that he spoke English, and he may not have it in those days. So no, he wasn't a very highly thought of guy. I've met a fellow who is, he's a nephew, a great grand nephew or something like that of Slumach. Really good guy, but no, Slumach was not. He was considered to be a bit of a medicine man, a man of mystery and so on, but wasn't highly thought of.
So with that, was he not highly thought of with the white nationalists that were trying to bring in the English government and way of life, or was he not popular with his fellow First Nations and Indigenous people as well?
I would imagine that most of his contact was with Indigenous people, though the stories we've heard are that he was delivering meat and so on for some of the government crews and whatnot. So he might have had some kind of contact with them, but maybe that was minimal. Maybe he was trapping. We don't know for sure. But if he'd be out there hunting deer and whatever, and then bringing the carcass in and selling it to somebody, he might have had some minimal way of communicating.
So how did he learn the English language then? Was that just getting around dealing with trappers and prospectors and all sorts of officials?
If he had the English language, I would think so, yeah. Now, it wouldn't be uncommon for people of that background in the late 1800s to have access to English. But if he was 80 years old, he was probably born in the very early 1800s. There wouldn't have been a lot of English language spoken here in those days. Certainly not as a child.
No, for sure. And where did he grow up again? Like, because this province is so spread out, like British Columbia would take up almost the entire west coast of states in the United States.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody has the answer to that. He's a Catesy man, and the Catesy lands are in the South Pitt Meadows area. And so that's probably where he was born, where he grew up, and where he lived as an adult.
I see. And that area during that time, too, the entire Fraser River was very much inundated with First Nations battles between tribe versus tribe up and down the river. And I recall there was a very large battle in the Ruskin area that caused literally hundreds of lives.
Oh, now I'm not aware of that, but and when would that be?
Oh, I believe it was 1870, 1880, somewhere around there.
Wow, I'll make a note of that and see if I can research anything on that. I'm not aware of it.
May have been before. May have been a little bit before. But apparently right where the current kind of turns there was a large battle. A large battle there, and the railroad was coming through at that time, or starting to come through at that time. So it was quite a violent area. We've got about 3 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Brian Antonson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Brian, when it comes to Slumach, he was 80 years old. For a lot of people, putting an 80-year-old to the gallows and hanging them for a death penalty, that seems a little vicious in today's thought. Back then, was that normal?
I don't know, but certainly the judges. I mean, the hanging judge was William or Justice Begbie, who supposedly dispatched many people, and I'm sure Drake was doing the same type thing. So I would think it would be a fairly common occurrence. White man's justice, certainly for the indigenous peoples in those days. We would not accept it today, but it was practiced back in those days, and age was probably a minor factor. Okay, you killed this guy, 15 minutes out for the jury, you're guilty, you're going to die.
Yeah, that's terrible in regards to that. And for us these days, it's very hard to even fathom how ruthless the law was back then, because people were expendable.
Yeah. Especially those who were considered to be less valuable than the white miners and the white farmers and so on. It was a terrible situation that we happily would not stand today, but it was the way things were in the 1890s.
Yeah, and Judge Begbie, for people who do not know, he was known as the hanging judge in British Columbia in the early 1850s and right through when the law really started coming through. He actually hung the first two people just south of Barkerville, British Columbia, that had ever seen British Columbia have any executions whatsoever. So he was known as the hanging judge, and people kind of followed suit because Begbie had quite the legend of his own.
Yep, and recently there's been moves to remove his statue from the New Westminster Courthouse area and so on because of all the things, the injustices that were done in the name of justice.
Yeah, I wonder if they would change the mountain name around here for him, because up here in the Caribou region, he is considered a legend. Brian Antonson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. More with Slumach's Gold. Does it exist? Is it folklore? Where's the mine? And how much gold is there? Lots more on Spaced Out Radio coming up after this.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to give a shout out to everyone listening in on KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lumpen Intelligentsia. Lumpen Intelligentsia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab yourself a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight we are talking with a good friend of mine, former dean of BCIT, so he can prove that I actually went to broadcasting school. Brian Antonson is his name. The book, Slumach's Gold, In Search of a Legend, which can be found on Amazon right now. Brian, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here. Really enjoying this little set, too. It's great.
Absolutely. We're having a lot of fun here as well. Talk about these gold nuggets that Slumach was said to have found and hidden.
So the legend that's built around Slumach and the trips to New Westminster, the legend that's built around Jackson and his supposed find, all talk about gold nuggets the size of walnuts. Now, there was a guy, I want to fast forward many decades, there was a guy named Stuart Brown who was a forestry official. Guy had a bachelor's degree, very qualified, worked for the government, and he was up in the Slowket Creek watershed, which was part of the territory that he was responsible for. And this was in the 1970s. So Stu Brown is, according to the stories, and these are not legends, these are verifiable stories. Stu Brown claimed that he was up there one day walking through a creek in the Slowket Creek watershed. Now, the Slowket Creek is fed by, I think, the Stave Glacier. There's two main glaciers up there, the Terra Rosa Glacier and the Stave Glacier. And I believe the Stave is the one that feeds the Slowket. In any case, they're relatively close to each other. And so you go down into the valley and all that sort of stuff where the Slowket Creek watershed is. And Stu Brown is walking through a creek, and he's got his boots on, of course, and he notices that it's glistening down there. He's, in 6 inches of water. He reaches down to look at the glistening, and he comes up with a handful of gold nuggets. Now, he's a government employee. He's a good guy. He's an honest man. So he sees this gold in the creek bed. He puts it back in because he's within the boundaries of a provincial park. And you cannot mine in a provincial park. Now, this would be probably the Golden Ears or the south end of Garibaldi Park, where he is at this time. So he puts it back in, and he goes to Victoria and gets an appointment with the government folks of the day, and he says, I have found a creek, and it's full of gold nuggets the size of walnuts, just like the legends say, and we got to go in there and get it out. So the government said, and there's lots of correspondence, there's a plethora of correspondence on Stu Brown's quest to get the government to agree. And they basically took the position, it's within the boundaries of a provincial park. You cannot mine within a provincial park. Stu says, you don't mine. You stick your hand into the water and you come up with nuggets. It's that easy. You're not mining anything. Well, of course, that correspondence went on for a long time. Some people tried to go into that area with him. The weather beat them back. One guy, friend Don Waite, who's one of the legendary seekers of gold over the last, say, 30 or 40 years, Don went with Stu Brown, and the weather beat them. It was torrential rain up there. That's another factor in making the country so dangerous. So they came back and did not find this creek again. But Stu Brown, and he has his detractors. He has people who say, you're not telling the truth here. But he claimed to have found this creek, and he said, I can take you back in there. We'll pay off the provincial debt. There will be no problems going forward with money because this gold is just there free for the taking. I have debates with certain other people about this, and that is, to me, it's one of the more plausible. Another couple of guys, Adam Palmer and Evan Howard, two guys who do the high country in their seeking. They've been up in the glacier areas, and they believe that the mine is there. And these guys are intrepid. They're just incredible high mountain guys or high peak guys, and they're up in the high country all the time. They have found evidence of another gold seeker named Bernard Drover. And they believe that Bernard Drover's cabin has been found and that he may have set up his cabin in an area, sort of in that area where Stu Brown was, and he may have found some gold. So far, no gold nuggets the size of walnuts, but we keep on hoping that something will come of it.
When we look at the gold nuggets that could be out there, I mean, if that is still out there and these, almost half golf ball sized nuggets are just dimes a dozen out there, pun intended, how much gold it could be in those mountains or around where this creek and this cave are? So the first thing is to say that the Canadian Geological Survey has determined that there is no gold-bearing rock in that area. It just isn't the right kind of rock structure for gold to be found. There's another old mining saying that says gold is found where it's found, right? And so throughout history, who would have thought of Barkerville? Who would have thought of Granite Creek? But all of a sudden, why not Mission? Where I live. But it's these places where gold just suddenly is there at the surface. So the value of it is really untold. Like I say, there were early estimates that there were hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold there. And today, that was in the days when gold was worth $34 an ounce. Many times that now. So it would be in the billions if it could be found. Has anybody ever got close to finding this mine?
When our book first came out, well, both times we had the first small book, 56 pages, in 1972, and that sold 10,000 copies. And then the revised edition in 2007 has now sold around 14,000 copies. So bestsellers in both cases. A bestseller in Canada is 5,000 copies. Now, when the books first came out and were popular and so on, we, in both cases, got phone calls. And when I say we, Mary would get them, Rick would get them, and I would get them. And somebody would say, "Are you the guy who's found the mine? Or who's written the book on the mine," or whatever. And I'd say, "Yeah, I am." And they would say, "Well, I've been in the mine. I know exactly where it is. I just thought you might like to know." And my first question to those people is, "Are you rich?" And to a person, they have said, "Well, no." And I've said, "Well, then you have not been in the mine. Because if you were in the mine, you would have brought out the gold and you would be filthy rich, with all this gold." So I don't believe anybody has actually found it, though there are those who claim to. And we've done book signings. I've done presentations, and I've had the people come up to me afterward and say, "Well, I've actually been in the mine." And again, I say, "So are you rich?" And to a person, they have said no. And so I don't believe I've talked to anybody who has found the mine.
When it comes to treasure hunting, there's all these hidden treasures all over North America that people want to find. I know there's a legend right here in where I live in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, where they believe that the 97 highway is actually built on top of where a pile of gold that they estimate to be valued around $3 million is hidden in a satchel somewhere buried under the earth. And there's a lot of legends like that. We look at Forrest Fenn in the United States, which is more of a treasure hunt than trying to find Slumach's gold. But where does this rank, Brian, in regards to the legends of the history of treasure hunters?
We have been told that the Slumach legend, and there are many, you're right, there's many stories around, the Lost Lemon Mine and the Billy Miner banknotes and all those different things. We've been told that the number one in Canada is Oak Island in just south of Halifax, and that Slumach is number two. Now, there may be others who claim some mine in beautiful downtown Ontario or something like that. But we're pretty pleased that our book focuses in on what is probably the second best known lost mine legend or lost gold legend in all of Canada. And arguably, you've got the Dutchman mine down in Arizona. You've got Montezuma's legendary mine in New Mexico and other places like that. And there's lots of deposits where somebody robbed a bank and they got all the bank notes and then, they left them in an old oak tree or something like that. So there's lots of those stories around. But Slumach's gold is probably the second best known in Canada and arguably one of the top half dozen in North America.
Did you have to do any research on Oak Island regarding this case? Because Oak Island is the number one famous treasure area that people are searching.
I didn't. I knew of Oak Island from when I was a young kid. I've actually been to Oak Island. I was at a broadcast educators conference in Halifax about a decade ago, maybe 12 years ago now. And we went for a drive before we got there early and did a little bit of exploring and headed down south, did Peggy's Cove and things like that. And I'm driving along south, and all of a sudden there's a sign, just a little sign that says Oak Island. And I thought, that's where the treasure is. So I backed up and turned left and headed down to the ocean. And sure enough, you come to a causeway that's barred and so on. This is at the time. This is, say, what did I think, maybe 2008 or something like that. Come to this causeway. You can't get into it. And there were 4 pirates' cannons sitting there aimed at me. Old pirate cannons. I don't know where they got them, but they were sitting there. And that was a way of saying, do not come on our island. Now, the television show, which is now, I think, in its 8th season, has been going for the last several years, and they still haven't found gold. I was talking to somebody the other day. Apparently, the Oak Island treasure, they're about to break through another layer, and I don't know how many dozens of feet down they are, but they're very close this season to actually finding the treasure. So, no, at the time, both with the first book and the second book, we were aware of Oak Island, but it didn't figure in our research at all. It'll be nice if they find something. It would be nice if somebody found something to do with Slumach, too. There's a television show that came out of this that ran for one season and then has run in, repeats. I know Global has run it, and History Channel, Animal Planet Channel in the States, and so on. It's called Curse of the Frozen Gold. And it's the adventures, it's a 6-part series. It's the adventures of another number of these people who I've mentioned who have gone searching for the gold. And it has half a dozen stars, Fred and Dawn that I mentioned, Danny Garrick and Daryl Friesen and Adam and Evan. Excuse me, my brother and I show up in episode number 3, I believe, as the guys who wrote the book are brought in to talk about it. But it's got its own television series, Curse of the Frozen Gold. And it's available, of course, on YouTube.
Why do you believe that mine exists?
I think, to me, quite apart from the legends, I don't think Slumach ever had any gold. Somehow his name got associated with it. Everybody loves the lost gold mine story, and everybody wants to think, they want to believe that there's something there. I believe that a couple of people, Stu Brown being one, have found something. Another, back in the 1920s, maybe early 30s, actually he died in 1930, is a guy named Volcanic Brown, and he's been associated with this legend and searches through the late 20s, and he disappeared up there, and there was quite a hunt looking for Volcanic Brown and so on. Now, again, there's a legend around him that they found his abandoned tent, and in the tent they found a glass jar full of 11 ounces of raw gold. Now, is that true? There's no evidence. There's no proof. There were some newspaper reports at the time of the people searching for him. It was quite bad winter conditions by the time they gave up and so on. But Volcanic Brown is famous because he founded so many viable mines all the way across southern British Columbia. He's a legend in his own lifetime for the things that he founded. And many of the cities that we know of today that had gold as a start, they came from Volcanic Brown. So this guy is viable. He's verifiable. He's a fact. He's not a rumor or a legend or anything. So the two Browns stick out to me as people who have some credibility and said that there was gold.
So with that, and you believe in your heart of hearts that it is out there?
I do. I don't know where it is. My gut tells me or points me to one of two areas. One is Canyon Creek, which is just north of the head of Pitt Lake. And that was, when I was a kid, that's where we first heard this lost gold was located. But more today, I believe, the Sloquet area, where Stu Brown may have found something. That's my personal belief. There are those who you would talk to who would challenge that. I got to say that whole area outside the provincial park has been heavily logged. And you mentioned earlier, you said, why, with all the people who've been up there hiking, searching, etc., has nobody ever found anything? Well, why indeed? And if you look at Google Earth things of the Corbould Creek area, there's all sorts of logged out areas up there. So, loggers are all over the place, and they're down in the creeks, and they're moving around, and they're cutting roads and everything. One would have thought somebody would have found something. All the thousands who the people who supply folks for decades have said, yeah, people come in here and they put together their grub stake and all of their gear and everything, and they head up the lake, and there are people who boat them up the lake and all of that sort of thing. So with all of that activity and thousands of people over the last many decades, why has nobody found the gold? And then the question is, well, maybe they did, but they brought it out secretly. And of course, there's rules and regulations about mining. There's rules and regulations about smelting gold and all of those different things. So maybe something's happened and somebody's done it secretly, but then how do they market it? Are they holding it in their basement? Nobody knows.
See, that's an extreme case right there. If somebody does have it sitting in a safety deposit box or a safe in their home or somewhere along those lines, I mean, they could be sitting on multi-millions. I mean, with that amount of money out there, would they not need a prospector's claim to try and get it?
Sure. A prospector's, what is called a free miner's certificate. And I had one of those. My brother and I both laid a couple of claims in the North Pit just to say that we had done it, to say that and we never got up there to work the claim. And, of course, they lapse after a year if you don't pay for it and to continue it and so on. But, yes, what that does is it says this land is mine, and I have the right to mine, take the resources out of that area. But if nobody else is in that area and you're the only one who knows where it is, put it in your pack sack and bring it out. It's heavy, mind you, so you can't bring up a lot. Gold is very heavy.
Are there logging roads up into that area where it's alleged this mine may be?
Yes. Now, that depends. If you follow the line of thinking that Adam and Evan do, that it's up high, up around the 7,000-foot level, no, the logging roads wouldn't go up that far, and it's basically rock, and it's basically a lot of snow, glaciers, and so on up there. So if they have the right tack, then no, there's not a lot of logging roads up there. But down in the lower reaches, you bet there's lots of logging.
Yes. We've got about 90 seconds before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Brian Antonson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio talking Slumach Gold. So you believe this mine exists. You believe that there is potentially a logging road to get up there. And from there, and maybe we'll take this into the next half hour as well. What are the clues that lead us to this, Brian?
Legend. That's the only clue. People who say, "Oh yeah, I'm sure I found the mine." The clues left behind by the huge amount of documentation by Stu Brown about the Slumach River area. The clues that people have said for years. I looked down in the valley. I saw the tent-shaped rock. There's old legends about you line up these three peaks in a row. There's lots of tent-shaped rocks. There's lots of three peaks in a row. So it's damnably difficult. There are those who believe the mine is actually on the west side of Upper Pitt River. One fellow who wrote a book called The Curse of the Lost Gold or something like that. I forget. Anyway, he believed it was up in the Butte Inlet area, and he found some old Spanish workings up there, some mining attempts. So he said, "Oh, that's where Slumach's gold is." Now, that's way out of the traditional search area, but there are different opinions, and people are welcome to them.
All right, Brian Antonson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got him for another hour here talking about Slumach's Gold. You can find his book, Slumach's Gold, on Amazon. Make sure you check it on out right now. We'll be back with more on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world. relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Welcome back as we pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. So glad to be broadcasting to you live from the mountains of British Columbia. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can check them on out while you're listening to the show. We are talking about a legend in British Columbia of Slumach's gold. Old Slumach put this mine together that was getting gold nuggets, the size, about half the size of golf balls. Coming to talk about it tonight is author Brian Antonson, and his book, which is on Amazon right now, is called Slumach's Gold, In Search of a Legend. He has written this book with his brother Rick and Mary Trainer. Brian, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here. Enjoying myself.
Now, right before the break, I asked you in regards to if there was any clues outside the legend. So we have no treasure map. There's no clues inside that legend that said, you know, it's maybe by a turn in the river or a turn in the water or anything like that.
Yep, there's nothing like that that we have found to date. Matter of fact, I mentioned the 1897 Slumach lost mine or gold mine or something like that group that was put together. The next one was a mention in the Vancouver province in 1905 about a fella named Frazier who was going up into the mountains to search for this. So that's the earliest newspaper mention that we've found, Frazier in 1905. There again, Fred Brackus found a mention in a Wisconsin newspaper about a guy named Wilbur Armstrong, who was a famous local Wisconsin gold seeker, prospector, and so on. And in a 1915 paper, and Fred found this, there's an article that says he's going back to British Columbia for the 10th year in a row to search for the famous Slumach, spelt Slummock, the Slumach lost gold mine. Now, Slumach, as you and I are talking, is spelt Slumach. I've also seen it spelt Slumach and a few others, but Slumach was the guy that Wilbur Armstrong was going after. So he had been looking for this since, say, 1905, 1906. So now we've got the legend of Jackson and his letter. We've got the Frazier mention in the Vancouver province of 1905, and Wilbur Armstrong through until 1915, and so on. So something was bringing these people back, but nobody knows. Nobody can come up with what the clues were, what people were looking for, what was the lay of the land. Take the third creek from the left, and all those sorts of things. Nobody knows. So that's why people keep tromping up there, heading mostly up Corbould Creek. Corbould Creek's a few miles up from the head of the lake. There's an old fish hatchery there. So people typically will go up to Alvin, where the fish hatchery is a very small community, and then they'll head east up Corbould Creek. But there's huge amounts of logging. If you look at a Google Earth view of Corbould Creek, you'll see logging all over the hillsides and so on. So again, people have been up there a lot. It's not as if it's uncharted wilderness, and so far nobody seems to have found anything.
I'm going to ask you a strange question here, and I don't know if you would go with this or not. But have you ever tried going into the paranormal realm in a seance or something along those lines to try and contact old Slumach to see where the mine is?
There was a book. It was a novel that came out, maybe 2010, 2009, something like that. And it was all about that. It was a couple, of course, books have various different currents and undercurrents in them, at least fiction books. But this one had a couple that were having marriage problems. They decided to go off in the bush and look for gold, hoping to solve things. And then there were these visions, and there were these hauntings. And the woman would wake up, and there was this blurry vision of this old native fellow standing there talking to her and saying, "Leave, go away, do not come in my land," or whatever. So that would be paranormal, and that was explored in that book. I'm trying to think if I know of any other things. Oh, I know of one thing. A guy named Wally Lund, back in the early 1960s, came to the New Westminster Columbian newspaper, a reporter there by the name of Alan Jay, English guy. We interviewed him, and he helped us a lot when we were doing our first book. And Wally Lund came to Alan Jay and to the editor, Elmer, I forget Elmer's last name now, editor of the British Columbian at the time. And he said, "I had a dream that this mine is located on Sheridan Hill. And if you drive through Pitt Meadows, heading east, and you look to the north, there's a little mountain there, maybe 3 miles up or something. That's Sheridan Hill." And so the New Westminster British Columbian newspaper had hundreds of people out every weekend for several weeks scouring that hillside looking for Slumach's gold. It would have been really convenient if Slumach had been in that area at the time. It would have been, a quick trip out via canoe out to one of the little creeks there and whatnot, pick it up and so on. So Wally Lund had this dream. And so there's another paranormal situation. Beyond that, I'm not sure that anybody's had any weird visions or anything up there for real.
I always find it funny because when we do our ghost tours at the local museum here, because we are literally right along the Gold Rush Trail,
yep.
If you believe in the whole spiritual side and paranormal side, we have connected with a couple of the miners that just seem to be strolling on through. And every time, and this has happened probably 4 or 5 times in the last 3 years that we've done this tour, every time we get a new miner in there, we always ask them, "Where is your gold?" And it's amazing how quick you could be having all of the action that you want paranormally that is going to excite you and excite people. And the minute you ask where the gold is, everything goes silent.
They clam up.
Even in death, they are not telling you where the gold is. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody conjured up old Slumach, that if he would just say, "Screw you guys, I'm not telling you where my gold is."
Yeah.
But I think it's worth a try.
If he could speak the language. and there's no proof of that.
My goodness. That would be fun, though, to try out. Hey, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
He'll say, "Go to a Ouija board," and the secret is there.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. We'll bring out the old Ouijas sometime next time I'm in the Lower Mainland and just check it on out. Just
see what we can find. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Exactly. You said earlier in the show that he did not have any friends whatsoever and that he was quite a loner. but there's usually someone, even the biggest loners out there have, that they could talk to. Do we know if there was anybody that he confided in or anything?
There is word that he was married. There is word that he had a daughter and that he had a son. There's even word that that son in the 1890s took people off into the bush saying, I know where my father's mine is. But there's no evidence of that. That's the stuff of legend. So he may have had a family. If he was 80 years old, his son was probably 60 years old, right? And his daughter would be of a similar age. There was a gal named Aunt Mandy who lived here in Mission for many, many years. And Don Waite interviewed her and became friends with her in the late 60s, early 70s. And Aunt Mandy was the daughter, I believe, of Peter Pierre, who was the catechist who was with Slumach the night before his hanging. And so there was a familial relationship there. And Andy would tell stories of, that had filtered down to her generation and so on. But again, hard to pin down whether there was any real knowledge there or experience or just what. Fascinating, and Dawn and she became good friends, and he had all sorts of information from her. But
so there is no record of him having a wife or children in the BC Hall of Records.
I don't believe so. And the only record that would have been around at that time would have been the court record, the judge's bench book, which might have recorded something like that if it was pertinent in the trial. I can't. It was 1971 when I went to Victoria and I read that book thoroughly, and that was a long time ago. We're talking 5 decades ago. So I can't recall if family was mentioned at that time. There were several witnesses to the murder of Louis B. and so on, but I don't recall that there was anybody who spoke up from a familial relationship.
Well, that's too bad. That is too bad, because that lineage, you would hope that something got passed down over the last century and a bit. Right.
But in those days, literacy was not a big thing. In British Columbia, I'm not sure what the percentage of literate people in the province would have been at that time. Record keeping was not what it is today. The newspaper, the British Columbian newspaper was about it at that time. And so, whether there was any real record keeping beyond the legal record keeping of somebody being murdered and the court records and all that sort of stuff. We didn't have the social media, of course, that we have today. And again, white man's justice, they probably wouldn't have cared.
So you're saying you weren't sitting there on the the teletype there going tick, 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 tick.
No, I was not.
Your local social media back then?
Hey, I'm an old guy, but I'm not that old.
My goodness. Yes, I know. We're all old. We're all still on reel-to-reel tapes, my friend.
Yeah,
we're
boy,
still
that was
all
love.
there.
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
my goodness.
digital editing is so much cleaner and so much easier and so much quicker and all that sort of stuff. I'm a child of the reel-to-reel tape age, but boy, I believe in computers.
My goodness. That was hell. I remember, quick radio story here. I remember in my practicum that I did up in the Kelowna at a radio station called CKOV 630 for our American listeners. Yeah. And the first job I had when I got there for my practicum, the news director, a great guy named Bruce Smith, says to me, "Yeah, can you go start editing, cutting the reel-to-reel tapes?" And I'm thinking I just came from school where the technology was much better. So my first instance in the broadcasting was actually editing reel-to-reel tapes.
I did a lot of that myself.
It was quite an experience. Brian, as we continue on with Slumach's Gold, we're going to talk about this until the top of the hour. And then I want to ask you some broadcasting questions and journalism questions for the final half hour that we will have you here. Are there any expeditions or groups that are trying to put some money into finding this, much like we see happening at Oak Island?
Not that I'm aware of right now. There have been some over the years. Back in about 1980, 81, 82, somewhere in the early 80s, CKVU Television in Vancouver and the Vancouver Province launched an expedition. Dale Robbins was a reporter with CKVU, and John Ferry was the reporter for the province. They had a team of camera people, campers, people who felt they knew where the mine might be. They went up into the Widgeon Lake area at the southeast corner. Let me see now. Widgeon Lake and Widgeon Creek are just up the west side of Pitt Lake, about where Pitt River, the lower Pitt, drains Pitt Lake. And Pitt Lake is a tidal lake, so it goes up and down every day with the tides. Anyway, this province team and CKVU team went up there for a week. They filed daily television reports. They filed daily newspaper reports. So they were on an expedition to find the mine. They did not. They found nothing up there. There has been this German crew. There have been film crews, this Curse of the Frozen Gold thing, which was produced in 2015. That was quite the exciting event. Not really an expedition, but they had choppers and whatnot. They flew up into the various different areas and so on. So they looked ardently for something and did not find anything. So, that sort of thing has happened, but I'm not aware today of an organized search. I know Adam and Evan go up every summer looking in the high country for some stuff. They've talked about the Bernard Drover site. Who knows where that might lead. Wonderful stuff, but not any organized search that I'm aware of.
It would take a lot of money and a lot of people to do this. I mean, you need engineers, you need geologists, you need, guides and hunters and everything to go around that area. You're looking at a multi-million-dollar operation on a whim, on possibly something that is fantasy.
Yeah, on a legend. You need choppers to get people and equipment in. You need people with rifles to make sure that the bears and the cougars and all that sort of stuff don't get you, because it's dangerous country from that point of view. There's lots of animals up there that would provide challenges. You need. I don't know if multi-million is accurate, but you would certainly need a lot of cash if you were going to launch a concerted effort to try to find the mine today. You'd need a lot of cash behind you in order to do so.
Have you ever been contacted by any sort of millionaire who just needs a new hobby and trying to find this, who likes a good mystery?
No, and if you know one, send them my way.
Well, you're the one with the nice broadcasting pension. I'm not.
Define nice. Yeah, that would be neat to find a sugar daddy who had a few million laying around who said, yeah, okay, let's go find that mine. But so far, nobody's come out of the woodwork for that one.
So for people who you tell this story to, then, what is their reaction towards Slumach's gold? Is it just they find it interesting, or has it piqued curiosity for many?
Yes, it piques a lot of curiosity. I make a presentation on the story to various groups, and have ever since our book came out in 2007. So I've done this again and again and again. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I have lots of slides, lots of interesting graphics and so on to show people. There's always a lot of interest. There is often somebody who comes up afterwards, as I said earlier, and says they've been in the mine, and then we follow that line of questioning, and of course they haven't. Whether I've actually encouraged somebody by my presentation to go off into the bush searching, I don't know. I would hate to have somebody go off in the bush looking for something and fall off a cliff and break their neck or whatever. And I would hope that if anybody does that, they go up well prepared, that they have a background of being in the bush, of being in the wild, of being properly prepared, because it is not an easy thing to do. But no, I'm not aware that I've not had anybody come back to me and say, hey, I took your advice and went off into the bush. Hasn't happened.
Not that you know of, because there's always some weird. Brian, there's always some weirdo out there who will do it.
It hasn't happened that I know of. You're correct, or that anybody's come back to me and said, "Hey, thanks for the tip. I found the mine. Would you like a nugget?" Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and you know what? It's much like searching for Bigfoot, where you get these people out there, they get that interest, and they go out for like a couple of hours, kick some sticks and rocks. There's nothing here. We're out of here. Let's go. I'm bored, kind of thing. I can see that pretty much playing out this same way. Unfortunately, say that.
Yeah, and if you believe in Bigfoot, then Bigfoot would have been watching them do this, right?
Yes.
Hiding behind a tree, hiding behind a rock, observing them as they're doing this searching. Some people just have no idea what to do. When I'm out in the bush, I'm watching around me all the time for the potential of danger, and just so I know where I am. Some people just go humming along and they're not paying any attention to anything. And that's when you can get snuck up on by a cougar. They say if you see a cougar, the cougar's been watching you for about 20 minutes. And that's one of the very real realities. I mean, as we've discussed, it's the reality here in downtown Mission that we've had cougars and bears around. Well, the same thing applies even morefold when you're out in the bush.
You got that right. Brian, I'm going to get you to hold on here because, actually, we got about a minute and a half here. About a minute and a half here. And that wildlife is very simple, and I think that's a good warning for people. It doesn't matter whether you're out bigfooting or out looking for gold or treasure, whether it's Slumach, whether it's Forest Fen, or wherever, you find a local legend. Be sure you're prepared to go outside because Mother Nature sometimes gets a little cranky.
And you should probably have a firearms license and know how to use it, because when you're out in the bush, in that kind of bush, and I'm not talking about going for a hike on the North Shore Mountains or anything. Excuse me. I'm talking about being out in real wilderness territory. There's bad stuff out there.
Exactly. And you don't want to become a Bigfoot bride.
No.
You don't want that.
That's one of the legends. There's a guy named Alfred Gaspard, who you may have heard of, who disappeared, never to be found again on the Slumach trail. And some have wondered if he wasn't taken on that basis.
Interesting story. Aliens or Bigfoot, one of the two.
Yeah.
They are all around that entire area. I miss my former hometown area. You're getting me homesick here, Brian. You're getting me homesick. Yes. Yes, I hear you there. All right, we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have Brian Antonson for another 30 minutes. And in the next half hour, we're going to pick his journalistic brain for a little bit and try and find out why the mainstream media really doesn't take the UFO topic very seriously. Should they? We'll find out next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. I appreciate you all tuning on in. Thank you for listening in on KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and down in Dangerfield, Texas, KDNF AM 1560. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lumpin Intelligentsia. Lumpin Intelligentsia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce author Brian Antonson. He is also a former journalist, retired out of the Vancouver, British Columbia area. And once again, if you didn't hear off the top of the show because my microphone didn't go on, Brian was also the Dean of Broadcasting for the British Columbia Institute of Technology for a number of years, including when I went there as a young punk at around 23 years old. So, Brian, thank you for not kicking my butt out of school. I appreciate that.
Oh, we were tempted many times, Dave.
You know, I don't recall you sitting in on the interview process. I have to tell this story. There was my favorite instructor there was a gentleman named Robin Piercy.
Yep.
And Robin was a diehard Montreal Canadiens fan, and I didn't know that. And I'm sitting in my interview process on whether or not I'm going to get accepted into this broadcast journalism program. And Robin asks me, Brian, point blank, he says, "Are you a fan of the Montreal Canadiens? Yes or no?" and I sheepishly said no. And he takes my resume in front of the 3 other instructors who were with him, and he throws it on the ground and he goes, "Get the hell out of here right now. You're not getting in." And I sat there. Oh, yeah. I sat there stunned and they were all serious, and then the laughter started.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I getting in? Am I not? And I didn't know. That was the worst 5 minutes of my collegiate career in broadcasting was Robin Piercy doing that. And God bless him. I love the man.
What a guy. Yeah. There's somebody was telling me recently, Robin, of course, has been with CBC right across Canada, and he was with, he's a Newf, and he was with CBC in St. John's, Newfoundland, and there was a sign that was up on the wall, and apparently, according to a relatively recent account, it's still there. It says, "Because Robin said so, that's why." And isn't that a tribute to this guy from his days decades ago as a news director in St. John's, Newfoundland for the CBC? Because Robin said so, that's why. A legend across this country and a wonderful man and a great friend. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really enjoyed my 2 years there. I wish it was longer, but unfortunately it wasn't. I want to ask you. I want to ask you some journalism questions here until the bottom of the hour, because we talk a lot about UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, little things like this that to the majority of the population mean sweet nothing. And now, with the last couple of years, the way ufology has kind of taken over a lot of the mainstream topics that we are seeing right now, Brian. Why do you think there has been not very high-quality journalism in the mainstream regarding such an important topic?
First of all, let me just clarify that I've not ever been a practicing journalist. I have taught journalism students, for decades on things like ethics and the rules of the road, as it were, the codes and everything, rules and regulations, and whatnot. And I do believe I have a good journalism sense and so on, and I certainly know the topic very well. But I want to make sure that people understand I don't have street cred. I've not been out there reporting, calling in from the scene of an accident, other than just a very few times when I happen to be in the right place at the wrong time, as it were. But I certainly know this subject, and I have some very founded opinions on that. Now, why does the journalism business not take UFOs seriously? I think you have to go back to the early days in the 1940s when Ken Arnold first saw these discs skipping across the sky. He was a very credible guy, and he was flying near Mount Rainier, and I'm sure your listeners know all the stories. And when he got down on the ground, he met some reporters, and he described these things as discs that were kind of skipping across the sky like a saucer on the water. And that then became the origin of the term flying saucers. And because nobody else had seen that particular incident, Arnold had seen it, and nobody else had seen it, they giggled a little bit, because it's just a little, it's like the Sasquatch. Oh, you saw a Sasquatch, did you? And, it's when we're uncomfortable with things that we're not familiar with, we chuckle about it. We toss it off. More and more these days, there are highly credible things that are coming up. You will have seen the sightings that date back a few years, but they were released by the U.S. Navy in the fall. And these guys, they're flying F-14s or whatever they're up there in, and they lock on these things that are traveling at incredible speeds. Nobody so far has come up with what those things were, but they go faster than anything we've got. And they're making maneuvers that are things that we just don't have in our known technology.
Right.
The media, I think, has treated those reports, because they came not from you or me or some guy who owns a farm in McMinnville, Oregon, where one of the most famous sightings occurred back in the early 1950s. These are Navy pilots who are used to seeing things, who are used to locking on targets and so on. And they have these things, and the recordings are there, and the visuals are there. and they have no idea what it is that they're following. And it's not
Right.
Venus, right? It's not Venus. It's a known craft and so on. So I think journalists are looking at things a little more credibly at this point in time. I hope so. I don't know whether there are extraterrestrials. I'm just not qualified to know what these things might be, but I do know that there's something there that credible people have seen, have reported, and they're usually laughed off the stage. Pilots often are afraid to report things because they might lose their position with the airline. And yet I've talked to pilots privately who have said, "Oh yeah, we see strange stuff up there all the time." And some of it's, the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis or whatever. But that's not a UFO. A craft that comes up beside your aircraft and paces it and circles at night. We've seen these videos that passengers have taken and so on. You can't ignore that. You have to, I think, investigate further. And so the more credible sourcing that happens, the more evidence that shows up, I think journalists will start to take it more seriously.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and because you're Canadian, I'm going to ask you a couple Canadian questions. We help break a story here, and every Tuesday night we do a 15, 20-minute hit with Drex from CKNW in Vancouver, who broadcasts nationally on the Chorus Radio Network. And we helped break a story. A gentleman named MJ Benias, who's a UFO researcher out of Winnipeg, gave me this story to work on. And Drex was actually, and myself included, were actually quite surprised that nobody picked it up after we put it on the air and we wrote about it on our website, so on and so forth, that during the last federal election, a few months before the last federal election, there was a conservative MP sitting at the time. He ended up being reelected, who actually had one of his government aides contact MJ regarding the UFO question and what to do if that question comes up from the mainstream media, because it has become a governmental topic leading into the 2020 federal election in the United States. And that question never came up. This gentleman had been reelected, but they were preparing for it, and the mainstream media didn't ask. And this is also a caveat to the next part, which is the Canadian media played those videos. The Canadian media, even in the newspapers, radio, everywhere. That was a running story about what happened in the United States with these United States Navy videos. Yet there are no reports of any journalistic outlet, newspaper, radio, television, actually going to Ottawa to ask if Canada has any of these. Is that faulty journalism, or is that a news director who just thinks the story is garbage and doesn't want to run it?
I don't think it's that. I think it's that you yourself, you've done this, you've lived that life, so you know how much information is coming into a newsroom on any given day. And if you're chasing down political stories, sports stories, the Sedines getting their numbers put up everywhere, all of those things are good, valid stories, and you've got only so much time during your shift, your day, and so do I have time to go to Ottawa? Do I have time to look into the National Archives and so on? And there's lots of good Canadian stories, there's lots of them that have some credibility, but just daily life that we live with all the time, I think, takes precedence over that. So I don't know that it's a news director saying, "No, this is crazy stuff, let's not go after it." It's just other things take precedence. Do you know the Falcon Lake story?
Yes, the Falcon Lake story, yes, with Stefan Mikulik.
Yeah, and that's a wonderfully detailed, authoritative, with physical evidence, the burns on the guy's chest, and now that dates back to 1967, granted, but still, it's a Canadian story, and there are many other things like that, Canadian sightings and whatnot, that are viable.
See, and I look at it and maybe I'm looking at it on a biased notion because this is kind of what I do now, but I'm looking at it as there are a lot of stories that the Canadian media, if we focus on that here for a moment, drop the ball on these topics. And I think the audience is not better off for it. Whether it's because they don't want to cover the story, or I think, and this is my opinion, do reporters out there today in this 24-hour circuit even know how to cover a story like this?
Yeah, like, do you go talk to MUFON or one of the Canadian UFO groups and so on, and do some serious research with them? They make a living out of doing these researches. This research. Does anybody ever go to a UFO conference down in Laughlin or Las Vegas or wherever, and actually talk to the people? And sure, there are weird people who come around to any one of those things, and their stories don't seem to pass the straight face test. But there are also very serious researchers, in my opinion, who have very credible information, who collect very credible information, and who write books about it. Stanton Friedman died last year. I respected that man. I saw him speak years ago at a conference here in Vancouver. I respected his research. And yet, when he died, a lot of people said, well, yeah, finally this fraud is gone. Take apart the Betty and Barney Hill story from 1962. These are incredible stories. This started the whole abduction thing going. And there was a lot of credibility built around their report, which they kept secret for a long time afterward because they knew they'd be laughed at. And people were laughing at all sorts of things back in the early 60s. But there's been some very good reporting over the years. Very serious people, George Knapp in Las Vegas, and people like that who've actually asked the serious question. And these are people who are taken seriously in other news stories. So now you got to take them seriously when it comes to a UFO story.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to interview George Knapp last year, and one of the things that he actually stated was that he still gets ridiculed by a lot of the journalists that are out there, even in his own market. And in the meantime, he is owning the market on these stories. And now there's some question as to how he's getting it. I think he's played a good game and a good journalistic game on this. But there are people in the market who, in Las Vegas, who are actually still making fun of him for being the UFO guy. And in the meantime, here he is winning Peabodys and Emmys galore over his reporting because of this.
Yep. So maybe it's professional jealousy on some parts. Why does he get the Bob Lazar story? Why does he get, all of these Area 51 stories and so on? I don't know. To me, it's such an interesting topic, and I'm ready to be. I am skeptical, as I said earlier, until I see proof. But there are some things for which I just don't have an explanation, and I think to myself, okay, now we got to look at least more seriously into this than we previously did. Roswell, you can debate that forever because there's no real proof. But somehow Mac Brazel, back in 1947, he got shut up, right? Somebody told him to stifle it. And Jesse Marcel and all those guys, there's too much there for us to ignore it, I think.
How can we improve the journalism on this? Whether you are a blogger, a vlogger, a fake journalist who just tries to steal the credibility of using the name, and we see that a lot in this field, and I've been very vocal, a vocal opponent against that. But how do we improve this? How do we get the story out so that the mainstream can look at people in this field and say, there's not enough tinfoil out there to cover up this story anymore?
I think what you do is you report on all incidents, but you keep a skeptical eye. So if somebody calls the station, radio station, let's say, or television station, and says, I saw something in the sky last night, you then check it out. Was it the International Space Station going over? Was it Venus? Was it Capella, which is a famous star that, because of its position in the sky, it glints with different colors? Any number of different. Get yourself an expert. Get somebody from UFO BC or from MUFON or something like that on board who can say, you know what? I'm going to discount this as a UFO sighting until that's the only thing that we have left. As you probably know, most sightings can be tossed off. They're satellite, they're any number of different things, but there's about 3 or 4% that nobody can explain. With these new satellites that are going up now, the very small satellites that Elon Musk is putting up, the internet folks and so on. I mean, that's wonderful stuff, but it's creating a stream of light in the night sky, and they've only got a few dozen of those things up there. UFO reports will come from that, but there is an explanation for that. So you can toss that off and say, okay, that's not a real UFO. But as we've discussed, you know, if a triangle shows up in the air, how do you explain that? It's not a Chinese lantern. It's not a firework. It's a triangle, a black triangle. And nothing that we have beyond the B-1 bomber and things like that, nothing is a black triangle, and they make a heck of a lot of noise, and they move very quickly. So if a black triangle is hovering about you, what is the explanation for that?
Exactly.
And I think
we've only got about 2 minutes left here with you, Brian, and I want to say thanks for coming on the show tonight. What a pleasure this has been for me. A little nervous,
and for me,
lie.
and for me.
Well, I do have to ask: do I get a passing grade here, teacher?
You do. Yeah. Get an A+. How's that?
Oh, it's the first one I got in broadcasting. Then.
Yeah, well, you got it from me. How's that?
Oh,
yes,
works
I've really
better.
I've really enjoyed talking with you for the last 2.5 hours. It's been great.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun and so much enjoyment for me. And what an honor it's been. In this last minute and a bit here, could you do me a favor? Tell people where they could find information about your book and where you're going to be maybe talking about this and so on and so forth.
Okay, I don't have anything immediate. Do I? I'll check my schedule, and if I have something, I'll fire you a note on it, and you can put it on the air. The book, as you've been saying, is available at Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. It's also available in bookstores, certainly throughout British Columbia. People have reported seeing it in Alberta. Because it's a local legend, it's the local availability that counts. Amazon.ca would get it, or Amazon.com, and we'd love to have the book sales.
Absolutely. Brian, I want to say thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. Go find that gold already, my friend.
I'll work on that for you. I'll work on it.
Well, you're retired now, so you got time to go out there and do that in between dodging bears and cougars in the Mission, British Columbia area. You got time now.
That's right. I'll work on that, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. We've got an interesting story coming up that I used my old journalism skills for. What's happening with Secure Team 10, the largest UFO channel on YouTube? 2.1 million followers? Could they be getting in trouble for using someone else's logo? We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio after this.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot. coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby. And tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Coolly and calmly broadcasting to you live from SOR headquarters in the middle of the mountains of British Columbia. Want to remind all of you that if you miss most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, sometimes the WTF. And that's where we're starting tonight with a homegrown story on our website, spacedoutradio.com. YouTube's biggest UFO channel, Secure Team 10, is in a little bit of hot water again. This time it's regarding the logo Secure Team 10 has been using since their inception. Brought out by YouTuber Lions Ground, it's alleged that Secure Team 10 has been using a modified Dell Alienware logo that was designed by Chinese artist J.J. Ying without permission from Ying or Dell. For years, Tyler Glockner, the owner of Secure Team 10, has been using this logo on all his video and advertisements, including his for-profit store, where people could purchase t-shirts, hats, and other merchandise, as well as his Patreon donation collection page. Controversy is nothing new to Glockner recently, who is the creator of the popular YouTube channel, which has over 2.1 million subscribers. Over the years, Tyler has been accused of posting fake UFO videos to enhance his popularity, which his retort has always been that it's up to the public to decide whether or not they believe the content. However, in the last few months, Glockner has been in trouble with the law in his home state of Ohio. In December, he was accused of and arrested for drinking and driving. A couple weeks later, he was allegedly charged with domestic violence and arrested again. Goof on Radio Stream's Rich Giordano was able to get a hold of the police video from Glockner's arrest for drunk driving. He played it on his YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, go to Goof on Radio Stream on YouTube. Now, Tyler's dealing with potentially another legal matter with using someone else's logo without permission. Lions Ground on YouTube, another YouTube channel, recently broke the story about the unlicensed usage of the logo after contacting artist J.J. Ying on Twitter. The artist had no idea his work was being used for a popular channel that was making thousands a month in donations, along with profits from YouTube and Secure Team 10's store. Ying confirmed with Lions Ground Van Peters that indeed the Secure Team logo was his creation, and he didn't give permission for anyone to use it especially Secure Team 10, which is both the logo rather is rather copyright and trademark infringement of Dell and Alienware. Glockner tweeted to Ying to send him an email to talk. It's not known at this time if the email was exchanged or had taken place. Ying stated he designed the original logo for an Alienware contest about a dozen years ago in a public Twitter conversation. Ying goes on to say that he designed this animated wallpaper to participate in a contest sponsored by Alienware, and he says, I'm pretty sure that the alien avatar is directly from the logo vector files provided by Alienware. So what does this mean for Secure Team 10 and Tyler Glockner? Well, in a worst-case scenario, is he could be sued by both the artist, Ying, and Dell for profiting off their logo. Glockner has sold merchandise with the logo on it. The other interesting part here, brought out by Van Peters, who takes credit for this, is the logo was also reported to the crowdfunding site Patreon. Patreon is a subscriber-based company where startup artists and creators can get paid by their followers for their efforts. People set up accounts to sit and set how much a person can donate. The site is used by everyone from podcasters, YouTubers, writers, gamers, visual artists, educators, musicians, and more. As of this writing, Secure Team's Patreon account has been suspended until further review. Glocklin's Patreon account had 3 levels, $1 a month for his team patrons, $5, and $10 a month. In 2018, his crowdfunding page had 2,120 patrons donating money. As of now, it's down to 883. We did reach out to Glockner's Secure Team 10 website and him on Friday. However, he has not responded to any of our questions or requests for an interview. We will get to that story if he does come back with answers. Residents of a small Kansas town where the poverty rate is twice the national average are being jailed for their unpaid medical bills. In Coffeyville, Kansas, 26.2% of the more than 9,700 people who live there are below the poverty line compared to the national average of 13.1%. Because of this issue, some residents, like Tress Briggs, has found themselves working 2 jobs. Neither job offered Tress insurance plans, and he was unable to afford health care. Tress and his wife, Heather, said they fell behind on their son's medical bills after he was diagnosed with leukemia. Their son, Lane, was just 5 years old at the time of his diagnosis, and at the same time, Heather suffered from seizures and Lyme disease. Yeah. Kind of scary. We had so many multiple health issues in our family at the same time, it put us in a bracket that made insurance unattainable, Heather told the media. It would have made no sense. We would have not had to have money for food, and we wouldn't have a home. Tress was arrested for the first time in 2008 after Coffeyville Regional Medical Center sued him in 2006 for $2,146. That bill stemmed from one of Heather's emergency room visits. Between both his jobs, Tress was working 70 hours per week and taking their son to chemotherapy. In doing all of that, he missed 2 court appearances over the medical bill. He was then arrested for failing to appear in court. His bail was set at $500. Over the next few years, the Biggs family was sued multiple times by the hospital until the debt had accrued to more than $70,000 in medical expenses, forcing them into bankruptcy. Yes, terrible, terrible times. I don't understand that, but we're not going to get into that debate tonight. Anyways, hopefully that gets cleared up pretty soon. Moving on here. Scientists say they have identified the first radio burst which pulses with a regular pattern, casting new light on one of the universe's greatest mysteries. FRBs are bright light pulses of radio emissions lasting milliseconds or fractions of a millisecond, which appear to originate from far beyond our galaxy. To date, researchers have uncovered more than 100 FRBs since they were first identified in 2007. However, the origin of these extremely energetic radio bursts remains unknown. Most FRB sources emit a single one-off burst, but a minority, around 10, have showed to repeat, although the bursts appear to be sporadic without a regular pattern. A team of scientists led by Dongzi Li, an astrophysicist at the University of Toronto, have now found that one of the known FRB sources emits radio bursts with a distinctive repeating pattern. The findings are described in a paper hosted on the preprint Serve arxiv.org. So it is important to note that the results have not yet been subjected to review by experts in the field, unlike those published in scientific journals. By analyzing data collected by the CHIME, or the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment radio telescope in British Columbia, wonder where the hell that is. Anyways, the team worked out that the source known as FRB 180916.J0185.56 emits radio bursts with a seemingly regular pattern based on a 16-day cycle. Who names this crap? Seriously, FRB 180916.J0158 plus sign 65. They must not have a life. All right, it's aliens. Let's just be honest with you. It's aliens. All right. Probably haven't gone public because they're playing Nickelback songs up there. And we don't need any more of that, do we? Well, some of us do. Some of us don't. Either way, aliens. Radio signals in space? Aliens. No other answer. It's not stars blowing up, planets blowing up, asteroids colliding with other planets and exoplanets and moons. Okay, it's not Saturn's rings that are doing anything like that. Nope, this is all aliens, people. All aliens. Every morning, Brianna Rogue goes out to the barn to feed the cows, but this isn't your typical farm. It's a laboratory, and Rogue is a graduate researcher at the University of California, Davis. She's been spending her time among bovines to see if she could tweak their diets so they burp and fart less. The cow's special diet includes small portions of a red seaweed, and it contains a compound called bromoform, which inhibits the action of the enzyme that produces methane during the cow's digestion. Less methane means less burping and farting, and on a global scale, less burping and farting means it could slow down climate change. The EPA estimates that methane from livestock, especially cattle and other ruminants, otherwise cud chewers, like sheep, make up almost 1/3 of the agricultural emissions in the United States. And although agriculture accounts for a smaller percentage of total greenhouse gas production than sectors like transportation and energy, it produces more methane, which warms the earth up to 86 times as much CO2. When cows eat, they burp food back up. They also fart it out, chew it as cud, and swallow it again to make it easier to digest. During that process, which cows repeat dozens of times throughout the day, an enzyme is made by microorganisms in their gut that produces methane as a byproduct. Yeah, this is why they make good steaks too. 3 adult females and one whom was pregnant and a newborn infant were found dead in Magahina National Park in southwest Uganda last week. An international response team led by the Greater Virunga Transboundary Collaboration, a Rwanda-based conservation group, conducted a field and post-mortem analysis that indicate that 3 endangered gorillas were struck by lightning during a severe storm on February 3rd. Based on the gross lesions from the postmortem, field assessment, observation, and history, the tentative cause of death for all 4 is likely to be electrocution by lightning, they stated. Confirmation of the cause of death will be issued after a histopathology laboratory exam of the collected samples, which is expected to take 2 to 3 weeks. The 4 mountain gorillas were part of a group of 17 known as the Hirwa family, which had crossed into Uganda's National Park in August last year from Volcanoes National Park in neighboring Rwanda. A spokesperson for the Uganda Wildlife Authority, the government agency that manages the country's national parks, wildlife reserves, and sanctuaries, did not immediately respond to reports for requests. The National Park Ranger, or a National Park Ranger, reported hearing the cries of surviving group members and chest beating of the silverbacks immediately following the lightning strike, according to Gorilla Doctors, a California-based conservation group that's part of the international response team assessing the situation on the ground and monitoring the gorilla family. The fact that a park ranger was nearby when the strike occurred is an extraordinary example of the challenges and even the dangers we face sometime working in this dynamic mountain environment, Gorilla Doctors stated. In fact, the ranger reported feeling a mild shock at the time of the strike. There was initial concern that some of the other gorillas were injured by the lightning strike, but all 13 remaining members of the Hirwa family were found in general good health and significantly calmer, some 650 feet from the location, according to gorilla doctors. That's a sad story. Sad story indeed. We're going to move on here. A surprised woman captured a video of a curious moose's battle with the family swing set in the backyard of her sister's Alaska home. Linda Schweitzky said she was at her sister's house in Kenai, where a pair of moose wandered into the yard. One of the animals took interest in the child's swing behind the home and used its antlers to prod at the object. Schweitzky recorded a video as the moose pawed at the ground with apparent aggression because he was going to get that swing and tossed the swing around with its antlers. She said the second moose watched its comrades battle with the swing without interfering. I think the moose wanted to get on. I think he wanted to swing himself, see if he could do the full 360 to see if he actually really does disappear when you come over top of the bar. And finally, good news story here. A Michigan family are crediting their dog with possibly saving their lives after his lethargy alerted them to a carbon monoxide leak inside their home. Diane and Gary Smith say their 13-year-old cockapoo Rascal was showing signs of lethargy Tuesday, raising an alarm with the Zeeland family. He wasn't coming in right to me when I called his name. He finally came in the kitchen, but he just collapsed. So I gave him some goldfish crackers, and he wanted nothing to do with it, which was unusual. Smith said that she took Rascal to the vet, but he seemed healthy and alert while at the office and was sent home. She said Rascal started acting unusual again when they went back inside the house. I picked him up. He was just limp as could be. We sat on the couch over there, and he was just laying there, and he wasn't responding like he usually does. Something didn't seem well. Smith described the situation to a friend who discussed it with her husband. She related to her husband and said, tell her to get out of the house. It might have carbon monoxide. So she thought, well, no alarm was sounding. But they went out anyways. Glad they did, because he was perfectly fine when they got out of the fresh air. A repairman came to the house, discovered the furnace was leaking carbon monoxide, even though it wasn't registering on the home's detector. Good doggy. Good doggy. Where's the clown, Marty? Ah, there it is. There it is. Thanks, Marty. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Why? Well, it's because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Tell me about the treasure you want to go hunting for. Let's do this, shall we? Start off with Reverend Keith. The various Knights of the Golden Circle treasure drops still hidden across the Midwest and Upper South. Tim wants to go after Forest Fenn's treasure. Why? It is attainable, but lately more deadly than attainable. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there's been a few people who've died doing that recently. William Pullen, guest here on the Mighty SOR. Common sense and critical thinking, intelligent thought processes, something that is lost nowadays. He's got a great mustache these days. He made a shave. He's got some serious handlebars. Good job, William. Debbie, Great American Glass Quest on Camano Island, Washington. Gabe, I want to go searching for gold, and lots of it. Matthew, cannon barrels filled with gold, Revolutionary War, Pennsylvania. Tim, I've been a miner for a heart of gold. Isn't that cute? Sherry, I would like to find the remnants of Atlantis. I love historical sites. Always wanted to be an archaeologist, but my dad said there was no money in it, and I listened. Now that I practice somewhat as a medium, it's incredible to go to these historic sites and you can see who used to be there, albeit sometimes that sucks like you can't believe. Kelly, the treasure I want to hunt for is the Les Pauls and Gretsch drum set that Everett Themer has buried 182 feet underground in his bunker. Oh, it's true. That bunker is there with a moat around it, alligators, anacondas, piranha, and a submarine with torpedoes waiting to get you if you go after the Les Pauls. Bell, I'd like to bid only one storage locker, and the contents would be my treasure. I know that might sound a bit silly, but how does it go? One person's trash is another person's treasure? Kevin and Kevin's beard. I would like to find a time capsule, and I buried in my pasture when I was 14. Can't remember which fence post it was. That would be cool. Marty, Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown has been searching for a 12-part treasure known as The Secret that a guy buried in 12 parks across America back in the 1980s. Only 2 of the 12 pieces have ever been found. I would love to find one of the remaining 10. Colleen wants more crystals because she's been selling them for 30 years. Nothing like picking them out of the ground yourself. It's pure energy. Andrew, my all-time favorite hidden treasure would have to be the Lost Dutchman mine, Superstition Mountains. I first remember hearing about that when me and my dad used to watch Unsolved Mysteries. Melinda wants to go after the Templar treasure. Doug, I have stood on top of the location of the KGC Brentwood Hoard. Would like to dig it up, but sadly it's impossible. Penman, it is rumored that the U.S. Cavalry cannon barrel stuffed with gold coins here in Oregon. I know the approximate location. Final word goes to our Sunday host, Everett Thiemer. It's been said that there is a great treasure hidden beneath the driver's seat of my car. It is rumored that it is a massive pile of shiny coins protected by an army of lighters, phone chargers, and pens. One day, I will form an expedition team to hunt for this great bounty. You can take part in the Thought of the Dave on Twitter and Facebook every day during the week, and maybe we'll get your response read on the air. Just going to expanded answers if you don't mind so we can read them. One words don't really work. Big thanks to Captain Shirk for putting together a great SOR Newswire, and of course, to our guest tonight, Brian Antonson, my former Dean of Journalism and Broadcasting at the BCIT, for coming on in and talking about Slumach's Gold. You can get his book on Amazon, which I highly recommend that you do. It would be a good read for you. Keep the treasure hunting alive. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Big thanks to everybody in our chat rooms on Spreaker, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and to all the snarkers and snarkettes at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. You really outdid yourself tonight. Appreciate that. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for joining us and having some fun tonight, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Author Alan R. Warren talks serial killers Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do it all again tomorrow night. Hanging on out with us is always a good thing to do, so come join us, will you? We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.